All right, Ethan and Luke, welcome to Crafty.
Thank you.
So, thank you guys so much for sharing your film, Amelia the Twin, with us. Absolutely love it. It's doing really well on the channel. Um, Tell me a little bit. I imagine the fact that you guys are twins plays into how the story came to be, but I'd like to know a little bit more about the process and development of this particular short.
Yeah, it sort of started when we'd been making a bunch of shorts and thinking about what our next one would be. And we had a long conversation with a friend of ours who's also an identical twin.
Mm.
And for the first time, we really hadn't ever had a conversation like that with another identical twin before, somehow. And it was a shocking conversation, realizing how many things we had in common with like our friend who had should be very different in so many ways, but had so many like identical life experiences and like things people said to her and like personal struggles and things like, and we're like, okay, there's something there. We should make a film about twins. But then it took about a year of actually we figuring out actually what we had to say about being twins, and I think we hadn't actually done the sort of self-reflecting. And when we decided we wanted to make a film about twins, we didn't know that there was anything special about being twins. We just thought this is unique, it's probably something to make a film about. But it took about a year to really dive into our experience and realize, like, oh, being twins has actually really dramatically shaped who we are. um, and there's something to say here. So, and I think we started out thinking that we were making a film about how all the stereotypes about twins are wrong. And then we found after a few months of thinking that no, we actually need to make a film about how all the stereotypes about twins are right, and we've been in denial our whole lives. And to us, that's kind of what the film ended up being. Is the film is about this character who's trying to run from the fact that she's so similar to someone else. And
Hmm.
we realized that was far more true of us than what we thought was true. That, oh, we're actually so different and individual, and we're always fighting for that. And I think that's actually not really what we had to say.
Sure, sure. So I imagine talk to me about the casting process. Did you look for identical twins to play the role and ultimately just stumbled upon this girl and we're like, we're going to have to use her and do the twin thing in post? Or like, what was the casting process like?
Well, yeah, I
Go
think
ahead.
part of the early ideas for this film were there was a girl at our church who we saw in a little like Christmas presentation that the kids did, corny, like, acting out Christmas scenes. And this one little girl, Emery, just stood out from everybody. We've known her family for a while, but we just don't oh, like she has the ability to like slip into a character, which is very hard to find in kids. So that sort of planted the seed of like, okay, it'd be cool to put her in a film sometime. And then we had this idea for a twin film, and I think in the back of our minds we thought like, oh, it'd be cool if we could have her in it. And so as it developed, we had this idea about twin girls, and then our older brother, who was an engineering student, he graduated from USC, was home because it was COVID, and we thought we could do motion control and build a camera system, and we could use Emory, and so it sort of all happened at one time. And yeah, so it sort of started with knowing we hadn't asked her yet, but potentially had this really talented little girl, and wanting to put her in a film. So we wouldn't advise anybody else to not look for twins, but
But we never did.
we were sort of excited by the challenge, and excited by putting the idea of putting her in a film. So yeah. And we
Well, yeah,
also
and I
have
think with, oh,
oh,
sorry, go
I
ahead.
was just saying we also have a visual effects background, so it made sense for us to take on the challenge. It was kind of an exciting part of the project of duplicating her, but that doesn't make us tell anyone else to do it. It's just because of our unique place and the sequence of events of how we came up with the film that it happened the way it did. But we always kind of knew we would be duplicating. So
That's awesome. And I think like with child actors especially, like if you know you have somebody that's going to work, even
yeah,
if it doesn't necessarily work for the twin aspect of it, it's like that alone is just a huge comfort in
yeah.
going into the making of the movie, I imagine.
And I
Absolutely.
think ultimately it actually helped the storytelling too, because I mean, it's hard to find twins that actually look really, really alike, and that was sort of an important part of this story is that
Right.
she is truly like identical to this other person, and I think that only helps you know, her wanting to be different. So
Totally. So I don't know a whole lot about you guys. Like, what's your background in filmmaking? Like, where are you in your journey? Like, where was Amelia your second short film, third short film?
Yeah. Well, we started making films in sixth grade
Oh
when
wow.
we had a computer teacher at our elementary school. He was brand new at our school and he started doing a computer club and teaching Photoshop and basic editing and uh, basic like game design too. He just coding, like all sorts of computer things. He just wanted to expose kids to technology. And we really grabbed onto green screen and the fact that you could film yourself in front of a green background and then click a button in an online free editor and most of the green would go away, sort of, and it still blew our
Yeah.
minds. Um, and we just latched onto that. We bought a green screen off Amazon and started making silly effects videos. Um, and we sort of kept doing that kind of thing, silly videos that we wanted to make all through junior high. And then we got to high school and we started going, huh, I wonder about this whole storytelling thing. um, and we started just thinking about, who are some good storytellers? We started watching Spielberg movies that we hadn't seen since we were little and realized, oh, we really like this stuff. And then by the time we were done with high school, we had started making our own just original short films. And even though we had started with this fascination with visual effects, by that point we weren't really interested in visual effects at all, in the sense that we just wanted to tell stories, and then we always sort of had the VFX tool in our back pocket. And then that's kind of how it's been ever since. All through college we kept making short films. So Amelia was sort of in our minds our second true short film. It was maybe our fourth or fifth short film we had made, but the second one we made that really, where we felt like we knew what we wanted to do with making films, and where we had begun to find our voice. And um, so yeah, it was our second film we made in film school. And then we've made two since then, and we just graduated film school and now we're working on a feature. So
Nice.
that's
Congrats,
where
guys.
we are.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I actually come from kind of I guess a similar-ish background. Like I got into filmmaking through VFX as well. I'm a little bit older than you guys. So this was like in the day when you had to figure out how to hook a fire wire up to a computer from your home video camera to
Oh
get your
yeah.
footage onto the computer. But I really wanted to see myself with a lightsaber. So I basically learned After Effects first before I even learned like editing software.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Totally.
kind of come from that similar background of like, okay, I'm interested in VFX, but now I need to learn how to tell stories and that kind of thing. So that's really neat.
Mhm.
I like hearing that you guys had a similar journey.
Yeah. I think it was first we grabbed onto sort of the magic of film, and then,
Yeah, yeah,
you know, then then discovered the true magic of film, which is storytelling.
totally, totally. So, talk to me a little bit about like the process for you two on set. Are you, because you know you hear about like co-directors all the time, and sometimes one of them is more visually oriented and one of them is more the actors, director? Like, what is your sort of dynamic on set?
I'm sure it has to do with being identical twins, but we're just like we kind of. I feel like we have sort of the same. We very much just share the same skill set and share the same vision on projects. Like we very easily sort of get on the same page. So we're learning more and more to delegate and sort of like swap places on set, but we just kind of go back and forth. So I'll just be looking at monitor and watching frame, and Luke will be watching the actors, and he'll give notes, and I'll just trust him to give good notes, and then we'll flip flop, and so we just kind of trade places. In post, we've started to find our roles more. We've just done all our own post, sort of because that's how we started. But I've sort of become more of a VFX. I take freelance VFX work, so I do all the VFX. Luke does all the sound. We both work on the picture edit. So, yeah, but we sort of have the same. We sort of do everything together. We write together, which I think ultimately makes it easier because I can sort of trust. We can both sort of just trust each other to do any role and not worry that one of us would do it better. So, I think so. Yeah, but we're learning to
That's awesome.
delegate more, I think.
It's hard, man. It's hard. I was gonna ask who's the sound guy among you, because it's like there can only be one sound person. Sound is too. I have no interest in sound, so good on you for learning
Yeah,
it.
I'm the sound guy. Luke's
It's hard.
become the sound geek. So yeah.
Nice. What does a disagreement look like on set? Like, do you guys ever find that, like, where you're like, we don't agree here, we don't align?
Um, I think I'd say we disagree often, but it's something we've learned to embrace because we never disagree in any sort of major way, really. I don't think we've ever really had a disagreement that's some sort of fundamental thing. We always know, we're inspired by the same things and we have the same overall vision. So we sort of learn to embrace when we have disagreements, we go, okay, at the other side of this argument that we're going to have right now is is something we're actually both trying to get to. Um,
Totally.
so I don't know, on set I don't know how much we disagree. It's all a blur now. But
I think yeah, and I think generally on set we've done so much prep that is generally if we're disagreeing it's more about logistics or how to execute something, how much time we have and what we should use that time doing more than anything creative. So
but we see our disagreements as kind of one of the big gifts of being twins and being able to work together because our disagreements are how we sharpen each other, and it's why we're better together than if we were making films on our own, is because I'll have an idea and Ethan will go, no, that's not good for these reasons. And that, sharpens the idea and makes it better. So um, we've learned to embrace it, I think.
yeah, yeah.
That's a great mentality, and I love that. I think a lot of people could learn from that. So, one of my favorite behind the scenes stories about the making of Amelia is the motion control rig. Like, you guys DIYing that, it's awesome. But how else did you have to get crafty in order to make this movie?
I get it. Crafty. Yeah. Well, I mean, all sorts of ways. I think we sort of started making films with garage sale equipment. Like we always tell people like our equipment was like the old camcorder we had, a $3 tripod we got at a garage sale with our grandma, and a can light we got at another garage sale. And I think that sort of shaped our perspective early on of like this, just like what do we need to get it done? And I think going into film school, I think in film school there was generally sort of an opposite culture of like everyone's excited about all this gear, and it's sort of like the more gear the better, the more money you raise for your film the better, and we're more just we like being scrappy. So yeah, in all sorts of ways, we kept our crew pretty small. We only had a few key collaborators. Um,
Well, and finding the crew was a big thing where we had learned from a previous film. We learned the hard way just how important it was that we put a lot of attention into choosing our crew. So we really put a lot of attention into finding people that we gelled with, that got the idea for the film, and that could think the way we wanted to think, and be sort of resourceful, and think of our think of our budget not as a restriction but as a sandbox to play in, and you know go to the far
Totally.
edges of.
but yeah, a lot of the stuff that could have cost money, we found through relationships. Like the our dad works at the elementary school we shot at, and that was just talking to the right people, and that was totally free. The house we shot at was a friend of the producers who only lives in that house like a couple days a week, and we just had the house to ourselves. Um,
Oh, that's awesome.
so a lot of stuff like that. I think our producer Paola Antonucci, she just, we call it the like immigrant mentality of like, because we've seen it too. Our grandparents immigrated from India, South India, and her, I think her parents immigrated from, I forget where, but it's sort of this like this thing we've seen a lot of immigrants of like that scrappy like not accepting no for an answer sort of thing, and I think she had a lot. That's a lot of what she brought to the film, was like talking to the right people, and you know making it happen with what we had. So yeah, I think there's a lot of craftiness that went into the film besides the camera rig.
That's awesome. And I think like you brought up film school, and I can't remember who said it, but I definitely remember hearing the quote like film school teaches you how to make expensive movies. And I think that
Yeah,
that can be true. Like more crew, more gear, more money, all that stuff truly does just make the thing a more cumbersome beast. And being a small and lean crew can be super effective for getting things done. So that's awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so I know you guys are still pretty young, obviously just out of film school, but like, what advice would you give to younger filmmakers than yourself, like people who are maybe coming up in middle school, high school, wanting to
Mhm.
do this, wanting to get into this business? What's your wisdom to them?
Yeah, I mean, I think the number one thing that we found is that everything we make, we have to start with what we care about. And where we find films and where we find ideas is in dwelling on things like, man, what am I thinking? What am I talking about all the time these days? Or what annoys me? What do I think about when I'm trying to fall asleep? And it's those things that inspire ideas, that grab us, that say, make me or else. It's like the idea is in charge and we're just following. As opposed, we see it all the time where we have lots of friends and peers who they're trying to come up with an idea that's sellable, or something that they think will have a good audience, or something that they think they can pitch to the right people. And we've just found if you start there, you will not get there. Like you will, the ideas that resonate best are the things that come from your heart, and the things that you just want to make, not the things that you think will get you places. So I think like that's the biggest piece of advice we're always trying to give is there's so much pressure to do it the right way, to do it the professional way, to make the thing that will get you somewhere, to talk to the right people. And our biggest advice is just no, be true. You have a voice. You have specific things that you care about, that keep you up at night and don't keep
Yeah.
someone else up at night. And think about those things and let those, you know, flow into the stories you tell, and that will make you unique. That will make you stand out. Um, and also, I think something we're really thinking a lot about right now is it's not about making it. I think, at least for us, we've really sort of landed there of like so much of Hollywood is it's all about like, you know, like you could even take that advice and say, okay, I'm not going to worry about what people think. I'm going to make something that I really care about. You could take that advice still with the goal of like, because if I make something I care about, then I'll make something good, and then I'll get into the right festivals, and then I'll become a big shot director. You know, and it's like
Yeah.
if that's your goal, like it's not worth. I think it's backwards. Like, um, I really think filmmaking and trying to get somewhere and trying to be somebody don't go together. I think art should be pure, uh, in a way. But yeah, I
Yeah.
guess
No.
I think I'll just going back to like how we started. I think we're so thankful that we started, you know, with not with you know we went to this little high school. We had a film club, but nobody in the high school was interested in film. So our film club was just people that were willing to help us make our films, and we never had what we wanted. And then we got to film school, and we thought this is great. Everybody wants to make films, and we quickly realized we had sort of a bad first year, and we realized that that mentality, the more scrappy mentality, is sort of what you need always. Like
Yeah.
it. So yeah.
No, I think that's such good advice. And there's a great book by, I think his name's Simon Sinek. It's called Start with Why, and I
Mm,
think that your guys' mentality of filmmaking kind of encapsulates what that book talks about, which is
mm,
just,
yeah.
have it come from a place of passion. And I totally agree, with what you say about art should be pure and for art's sake and that kind of thing. But I also, question, like, are you still like are thinking about the audience when you're making these things, in terms of like, films are great, and making a film is an experience in and of itself, but like ultimately somebody's got to see it. That kind of completes the sort of equation of filmmaking, in that you make this thing in a box and then you share it with an audience, kind of like rehearsal in theater. It's like
Hmm.
doing the play like just to an empty audience is not as fulfilling as actually having that receptive, that give and take of a crowd. So like, how do you think about the audience in the work that
Yeah.
you do? And part two of that question is, like, you guys have just gotten back from playing some film festivals. What's that like, seeing your movie on the big screen with the audience there reacting?
Well, I think that's so important, and I think I for me it's like it's all about the audience, and I think that we can trick ourselves into thinking like the irony is sometimes we think we're thinking about the audience, but we're really thinking about ourselves, because if we're thinking about what is an audience going to like, how is this going to play in festivals, who's going to buy this, if we're obsessing over those things, we're actually thinking about our own
Us.
success.
Yeah.
And I think if you're making something like that, you're actually sort of exploiting the audience into serving your purposes. And so the real way to serve an audience is to not think about how people are going to respond as much as you think about what do I really want to see, because that's ultimately what people are going to resonate with. If it resonates with you, it's going to resonate with somebody else. And so I think really the way to think about an audience and to engage, so our latest short film that is in festivals right now, First Chair, was really scary to make. It was the one we felt least confident in making it. We got nobody that read the script really understood it. We got one person we really looked up to who just tore it to shreds, and we didn't know if it was any good at all. But we just sort of stuck to like, no, we really we want to make this thing, and so we made it. We didn't take a lot of the notes that people had for us, and then it's resonated with people more than any of our other films, and it's started the most like good conversations, um
and it's played the best at festivals too. And I think that's showed us a lot of like, you know, if we had obsessed over making something that was going to please the most people, it would not have been as good of a film. So, um,
Yeah, and I'll respond a little bit to the second part of your question too. Just going to festivals and seeing films um, on the big screen, it is so gratifying, and it's so fun to have people that we don't know see the film and respond to it. And you know, one person who connects with the film and you know wants to come up and say they like the film afterwards, just one person is like that makes the whole festival worth it to us. And we really started viewing festivals as purely a chance to share the film and to see other films, not as, you know, I think people talk so much about festivals as like it's a networking opportunity. You got to go to the mixers and you got to hand out your card with your film on it and have really shallow conversations with a lot of people. And we found it so much more fruitful to just we have our film and we're going to share it with an audience, and we're going to go see other films and have other filmmakers share their films with us. And then from that, you actually meet people and you actually have something to connect over. Like somebody comes up to us and they appreciated our film and we start talking, or we go and see a film and we like the film and we meet them and start talking. And that's where the real connections happen anyway. So
Totally.
I really think, yeah, we love festivals not first as a networking opportunity, but first as a chance to share our work and to see other work. And out of that, indeed, comes many great networking opportunities.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think that's the perfect mentality for it. And yeah, it can be a little bit like, you know, checking the boxes of did I get my postcards there, and is my poster big enough for the red carpet, and you know, like all
Yeah.
those things that just don't matter. But yeah, I find myself leaving film festivals like so inspired because it's just it gives me new ideas. It
Yeah.
takes me to like the next project in my head of like, oh, that's really exciting, and I don't think I would have ever thought of that if I hadn't have seen this movie, or you know, whatever. It can be so much fun and so fulfilling.
Hmm.
But yeah, so what did you learn from Amelia that you took into making First Chair?
Oh boy, so much.
I think a big thing was, I think we still, even after Amelia, we wanted to sort of go even smaller with our. I mean, I guess it wasn't that we were too big on Amelia, but we sort of we really liked working on Amelia and sort of the tight knit crew, and we wanted to sort of push the idea further and go like, how bare bones could we go? And so on First Chair, we had like 7 people on our crew, and
Nice.
it was great. So that was something I think definitely came. Amelia was sort of at one step in that direction.
Yeah, I mean that was definitely a big thing. Is we've just learned that having your crew be your team is so vital, especially when you're making low budget films. There's no room for anyone feeling like they're not being treated right and feeling like you're my director and you're not treating me right. That can totally ruin a whole set. And so we've really focused on feeling like a team with our crew, and keeping it as small as possible is such a vital part of that. Of we're all in this, we're all putting something into this project, we're in this together. How can we help each other? And you know, um, how can we, you know, not, yeah, really find the problems and fix them together. Um, so that was a big thing.
One question we've gotten at a few festivals with Amelia was what, looking back, you know, it's been a little while now since we finished the film. So looking back, what's something you would do differently if you were to make this film again right now? And I think it's a good question, and I think I could come up with some legitimate answers of how we would shoot things differently or tell a story differently or stuff like that. But honestly, like I look back, and at the heart of it, I think we put the work into finding what we really wanted to say and what the story really was with Amelia. And so I look back, and I think we've improved as filmmakers since then. But I don't regret anything, and I wouldn't change anything about the film. I think that film is, I think we made the film we wanted to make, and so I think I really carried that with me. And I think, you know, the film has not made us a dime, but I'm so happy with it. I'm really, I think it was such a gratifying process to spend a long time figuring out what it was, and then making something we really cared about, that wasn't about, we weren't thinking about festivals or about what, I mean, at the time we thought everybody in film school hated us, which is a whole other story. But like, we couldn't put any of our worth in what people were going to think of it. We really just made it. It was just from us, and it was a COVID project. And to have it resonate with a lot of people, and you know, play in a bunch of festivals has just been so gratifying. And so I think that's the main thing we learned, is that it's more gratifying when we just stick to what do we care about, what do we want to say, and make that thing. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome, man. And I think, like, you know, people put you know, quote unquote, like, authenticity around that sort of idea, and I think you see that with, again, not to try to tie that to some form of success or whatever, but I think people really resonate with that. And I think A24 is a company that comes to my mind, in that they're just telling the stories that they want to tell, and making the films that they want to make. And are they films that have mass appeal? No, but they have an audience, and people really respond to them, and they go to the theater because it's an A24 film, not because it's got a certain actor in it, or is made by a certain director. And so I think that's pretty cool. What do you guys think about the I can't remember the name of it, the thing that Ben Affleck and Matt Damon are doing with their new company? Is it Artist Equity, where like everybody involved sort of has stake in the movie?
I haven't heard much about that.
Yeah, I'm interested to look more into that. It sounds like a really interesting idea. I love just that concept of people making things together, and making art less like uh, taking away a little bit of the hierarchy that I think can get kind of messy, as we're seeing right now with big actor strikes, big strikes. And all of
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. I'm interested to read more about it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know too much about it myself. It's just, I just, again, like, you guys like the concept, and the way that you were sort of talking about the way your sets work is the team aspect. And, you know, I think that when we do stuff here in Louisiana, it's got a similar feel, where it's, you know, it's the reason I came here. It's like, I want to make movies with my friends. It's a team effort. It's a group feeling. It's not like I'm the director, you're the, you know, whatever. It's
Absolutely.
And I think that seeing that on a you know, bigger scale, where these people can actually make money, and having that sort of team collaborative feel translate into that is really neat.
What encourages, I'll just say real quick, what encourages us the most is when we, like, you know, we've learned those things of, like, we've learned sort of the hard way what we want in a set, and a lot, not all the hard way, but we've learned what we like, a small crew, you know, really collaborative, less tight, like all those things. Then we'll find out, like, our favorite filmmakers will be listening to an interview and find out that's exactly what they value and how they work. Like Wes Anderson, like, we love all of his films, and he always works that he, like with Asteroid City, he talked about how it was like a student film on a huge scale. Like they had this huge set, but very small crew, and just like no trailers for the cast. It was just like a big family, and they all just made a film together. Steven
awesome.
Spielberg talks about his favorite thing about his career is that he would leave his family at home and join his family on set. And I still like think like, I want that. So, you know, like, but yeah, I think it's cool to see, like, oh, like the people who we look up to the most are fighting the same things. Like, Yeah.
Totally, totally. Man, speaking of Asteroid City, just what an awesome, fun movie. It was
Oh
so
yeah,
creative. Loved
yeah.
it. How did you guys find Crafty? Because for better or worse, like this thing started just as a way for me to showcase my friends' work,
Hmm.
and then obviously the hope was that we would expand and the filmmakers like yourselves would find us and submit to us. So how did that even happen?
I came across an Instagram ad and
Oh,
I
really?
clicked on it. Yeah, and
Nice.
I thought I read the little bit about your guys' vision and the kinds of films you want to showcase, and I thought, wow, that sounds like what we want to do. So I submitted. So
Cool.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
All right. Well,
I love your guys' platform, and I hope it continues to grow. And yeah,
thanks, man. I'll give Steven a pat on the back for running Instagram ads. Then I didn't even know we were doing that, so that's cool.
yeah, it
Yeah,
worked on us.
sweet, nice.
Yeah.
So what's next for you guys? I know obviously First Chair is playing a lot of great festivals right now, and will eventually be landing on Crafty here pretty soon.
Hmm.
You mentioned a feature. What else are you working on?
This is the feature.
Nice, nice.
um,
I'm gonna zoom in and see what it's all about. Yeah.
yeah,
well,
we're spending all the time working on the feature. We really want to sort of make it like we've made our shorts, and we think we probably will be able to.
Nice.
So that's the main thing we're working on. We finished a short that a friend of ours wrote. That was sort of our senior thesis. We didn't really think of it that way, but it was our last film in film school. We finished that. Well, we're still polishing a little bit, but um, it's more or less finished. But we'll probably wait basically till next festival season to sort of roll that one out.
Nice.
We'll see how that one does. So that'll sort of it'll be fun to sort of have that one still to roll out as we're working on the feature.
but the features really are next. That's what we're putting all our energy into that. We feel like that's the next thing we want to make. So, we get sometimes people tell us like just make a feature. Just it doesn't have to be any good. Just make one and then that'll be your card to get to the next thing. And we don't really believe in that. Like
Yeah.
not, at least for us. Like no, like we actually just we want to make some stuff we care about. We're not really interested in just getting to the next thing. So we're really putting a lot of energy into this and then yeah, it might take a little bit, but we found something we really care about that we want to make. So I think we have the energy to push us through a several year long um, project. But
it feels weird
That's
right
awesome.
now because we've been sort of turning out shorts pretty quickly, and shorts, don't take nearly as long to make. So it feels weird, like looking ahead, and we possibly won't be shooting anything for quite a while, but maybe we'll shoot some shorts in between or something. But the feature is the only thing on the horizon right now. So
That's really cool. Well,
yeah.
yeah, definitely stick to your guns on making it the way you want to make it. Have you read the Duplass brothers book?
we haven't read their book. We've heard many interviews and things. But we were just
Well,
talking about them this morning, actually.
I don't know if they have talked about this in an interview or not, but in the book they talk about making their first feature and how they did it, the quote unquote right way. And they got into the editing room and were just like, this isn't us at all. Like
Yeah.
it's not. It doesn't have the energy and the sort of kinetic feel of our shorts. And so it's interesting to hear you guys talk about that, of like just making it the way that you want to make it. And you should definitely check out their book. There's a lot of little
Yeah,
cool
I want
wisdom
to.
nuggets in there.
Well, we were just talking about them this morning
Well,
because I know that they made a film for hardly any money and they, bought lights from Home Depot and then used the return policy after they were done. I love that mentality of just,
yeah,
just get it done. Don't think about what's the right way. Just make the film.
make
Um,
the movie.
so yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we'll definitely hopefully the channel will have grown by the time the feature is coming out, and hopefully we can help you guys support it in some way.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, really looking forward to it.
Thank you so much.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do the interview and for sharing your work. And yeah, really looking forward to getting First Chair up on the site. It's such a great movie. And yeah, just, keep sending us everything.
Okay. Thank you so much, Alex. Great to talk to you. And yeah, we're excited about getting the films out there. And it's awesome to have them on Crafty.